I slept with the bride's brother-in-law. She paid $1,000 to Photoshop me out of her wedding pics, and I ended up marrying him. Posting on a throwaway because you never know. There's a lot of context around this story, so if you only want the wedding stuff, this may not be the tale for you. Also, this happened several years ago and I'm fine with the way things are now, so no advice needed, unless you feel I'm in the wrong here and can repair things in a way that won't result in World War III. So the bride, let's call her Lots, because she got lots of everything. Personality, emotional issues, problems with friends and family, and I met in high school. She befriended me on my first day in a new school. I'm very non-confrontational, as in I've historically sacrificed setting and holding appropriate boundaries in order to avoid a fight. But I noticed quickly that she's nosy and starts fights with people about stuff that's not really her business pretty often. Boyfriends and friends stealing are the top two causes. We get through high school with a much smaller friend group than we started with because she fights with a whole bunch of people, but I think it will never happen to me because we are such great friends, right? Wrong. I date the wrong guy in college and she dumps me. Like, badly. Weeks of harassing texts and emails about how disgusted she is by my choice of guy. How I'm a terrible friend because I didn't tell her everything about my relationship, and how I'm going to end up miserable with him. I said some mean stuff back because while I'm never one to start a fight, I am great at ending one. Keep in mind, this is not someone she knows well personally. I went to college 3 hours away and she stayed home, and she's only interacted with him when I brought him home for visits. A year goes by and we rekindle our friendship, agree that we'll never fight over such dumb stuff again. Lots has been with the same guy for many years and hoping to get engaged within a few months. Instead, my boyfriend, the one she hated but has now accepted, proposes. She flips because she says I stole her wedding date, she's not engaged, and ghosts me for another year and a half. One day, I'm in the bathroom at work, not a relevant detail, but I'm setting the scene, and I get a text from a vaguely familiar number that's not programmed into my phone. It's Lots. Her longtime boyfriend cheated and she dumped him and moved away, but she's considering getting back together with him and needs my advice. I'm the only person she can talk to about this, even though we haven't spoken since before the Obama administration. We talk, I encourage her to do what she feels is right, and I even visit her in her new state. She eventually reconciles with her boyfriend and moves home. I get pregnant and have my first baby. She is hugely excited and supportive. She spends more time with my kid in the first 6 months than my siblings do. Finally, her boyfriend proposes 3 full years after she dropped me over the stolen wedding date. I'm ecstatic. We are on the phone screaming 5 minutes after he pops the question. You should know that in all 3 years I've known Lots and her boyfriend, she always spoken badly of his family. I met one of his brothers, whom I call Shark, once during college, but I just kind of took her word for it that they were trashy, obnoxious, and less than ideal future in-laws. In hindsight, I should have considered the source, but I was also dumb enough to believe that we weren't going to fight again, so I guess you should consider the source too. So Lot starts planning her wedding, and it's a certified big deal because they have been together so long and most of our peers are already married to people they have dated for far shorter. She wants everyone to be super excited and involved, and for the most part we are. She originally is only going to have family as bridesmaids, but a few months later asked me as well because she knows I'm great at planning under stress and problem solving, and that I'd be able to help her handle her future mother-in-law. Besides this, she starts complaining more and more about her future brother-in-law, who I vaguely remember as Shark. Apparently, he had a baby with and got engaged to his girlfriend before Lot and her fiancé, which to her is a moral sin because Shark is younger than the future Mr. Lot, and younger siblings are not supposed to do anything. Also, she says he's competitive and constantly trying to outdo her fiancé. However, he is future Mr. Lot's closest sibling, so he is the best man. So now I'm a bridesmaid. In addition to fielding complaints about future mother-in-law and Shark, I'm consulted every single day about everything from chair covers to bolero jackets to cigar stations. I love this stuff, so I'm all over it. Since this is a big deal, there are also several dozen pre-wedding events starting a year from the actual date. She is the happiest I have ever seen her and so hyper focused on wedding planning that we really don't talk much about what's going on in my life. This is not really her fault. I'm a very private person and play my cards very close to the chest, especially when discussing problems could affect their outcome. Shortly after I was asked to be a bridesmaid, I separated from my then husband. Plot twist, she was right, it didn't work out. I told her a few weeks later, but didn't really discuss it with her or anyone else because I was still figuring out what I was going to do with myself and my baby. The spring before the wedding, I'm a single mom trying to make it in the world, and the bridal party starts conveying for the final countdown and preparatory events. Strangely, Shark has taken over a significant chunk of the wedding planning, and Lotz tells me that this is because he dumped his girlfriend and has a ton of extra time on his hands. Because he has a very high paying job and nobody to spoil but his kid, he is also dropping huge wads of money on their wedding as well, which is why she has also ceased complaining about him recently. It makes sense to mention now that he's a very good looking guy with a really aloof personality. However, Lutz is now doing everything in her power to make him seem objectively like a douchebag whenever he comes up in a conversation. He is a player, he is a frivolous spender, lol, his kid is a brat, etc. In no uncertain terms, she tells me that he will make a play for me because he makes a play for everyone, and that she will be pissed if we hook up because at this point we have ended up chatting at events since our kids are the same age, we recently gone through breakups, etc. Well, dear reader, as you probably predict, I did not heed the warnings. After my divorce, I was over relationships and just wanted to chill with someone who understood that I had to prioritize my kid. Also, a girl has needs, and he was hot and mysterious. Shark and I start meeting up after pre-wedding events, and over the course of a few weeks, several of the groomsmen and Mr. Lutz figure it out. We are having a good time, and I feel like myself after years of being married to someone who sucked and months of futile, touchy-feely marriage therapy. In fact, Shark and I are really gelling, and it turns out he's a pretty great guy. Most of what Lotz told me about him and his family is not true, but I know her and I can see what it is that bothers her about them. They don't line up with her fantasy of the perfect wedding and marriage where she is in the center of the attention at all times. They have a lot of their own stuff going on, and like I said, the first grandchild and first engagement had already happened for Shark. I get it, but I don't agree with it. Anyway, Lotz must have had suspicions about what was going on, but she's tipsy and having such a great time at her rehearsal dinner that she finally says, "Listen, if you want to hook up with Shark, it's okay with me." Yes, I believe her, and yes, I am allergic to learn from the past. If you remember, Lotz's two fight triggers are boyfriends and friends stealing. We make it through the wedding weekend because nothing was going to dull the shine of the big deal, but Lotz makes a few comments to me that makes it clear she isn't as okay with it as she had said. For one thing, she is pissed that I didn't spend the night before the wedding in the suite with her because I slept in Shark's room, and for another, she heartfeltly claims that Shark is cheating with me on a friend of hers who lives in another country, which was not true at all, but that's a story for another day. But we're all high on the wedding romance, and Lotz and Mr. Lotz go home married, and Shark and I go home openly dating. Now, as the wedding is over, Lotz dials back communications. About a month after the wedding, Shark and I go away for a weekend, and during that time, Lotz breaks into her husband's phone and reads his text conversations with Shark, which show that we'd been seeing each other for a while before the wedding, and she flips the heck out. Cue horrible harassing emails and texts to both of us, which we are seeing and discussing because we are in a hotel room together, post on social media, her calling her friend his ex to try to get her to break us up, and her forbidding her husband from speaking to either of us. We lie to her, We shouldn't be together. We'll never be happy together. We're both horrible people. We're trying to upstage her the works. As in the past, I started very reticent to get into it with her, and I'm very apologetic, but then I just kinda give up because, I'm confrontation out after my divorce, and I'm a freaking adult. I can date whoever I want. Shark never liked Lots and is happy to blow her off, but tries to salvage things for his brother. Like me, Lots cuts people off completely, but unlike me, she's super public about it. I'm blocked on all social media, so when she starts posting the professional wedding pictures, I don't see anything, but then text starts rolling in because Lots has had me photoshopped out of all the pictures. Literally, there is a me-shaped hole in every picture and the video is scrubbed and cut so I'm not in it. Shark has escaped this fate, particularly because his mom would have killed Lots if she deleted him too, but also probably because he paid for the freaking photo package for them in advance. There is nothing to do but laugh. We have been friends on and off for like 15 years at this point. In fact, I'm one of the only friends she had for that long because she cut everyone else off, and she's so mad that I slept with her brother-in-law after she said no without telling her that she's paid almost $1,000 extra money she did not have, which is part of why Shark was contributing so much to have me taken out of the pictures. 19 years later, we are all standing on a train platform, JK, but actually Shark and I got married, bought a house, started a business, and have a bunch of kids, like more than the average American family, but less than the average Mormon family. And Lots refuses to even be in the same room with us for holidays. We decided not to invite her to our wedding because it was a super tiny event shortly after she blew up at us. And we didn't want her to ruin the day, so when she found out that we invited her husband, Shark's brother, she sent me a profanity-laced email. I didn't know you could block people on Gmail at that point, and that's the last I ever heard from her because I ripped her a new one from neck to ankles. Honestly, I'm baffled that people like this exist. The Photoshop drama wasn't even the plot twist. My biggest surprise is that she managed to keep her husband and she was still married after 19 years. But this post was 6 years ago, so OP, please give us an update. Is she still married? But seriously, you shouldn't be around people like this. The level of control, entitlement, and toxicity, no one deserves friends like this. The funny part is that her over-the-top 50 pre-wedding events had its purpose, because that's how you had the opportunity to get to know your future husband more. So eventually, her entitlement ended up backfiring in the best possible way. At least this messy story ended up being a happy ending for you. And honestly, you deserve it way more than she ever would. But let's see what the people in the comments section think. This is incredible. You genuinely have the patience of the saint. Don't think I could have coped with Lots BS for so long. Wishing you, Shark, and the kids every happiness without her in your life. Also, couldn't help but laugh at the photoshopping. That is hilarious, but truly psycho move on her part. Yeah, I completely agree with this. Another comment. Haha, awesome story. Can't believe she would cut you out like that. If my best friend and I were married to brothers, we would be so happy. I feel bad for Mr. Lots. Yeah, exactly. If my bestie and I would be married to brothers, we could have spent so much time together. Yeah, she just have main character syndrome. But life is not like a movie. You are the main character in your life, but not in everybody else's. If you like this kind of messy drama, don't forget to stick around and hit the subscribe button. I got plenty more coming. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.